All right, anybody here take a class in this room? Next door? I was talking to Bruce Mail, who's a very engaged alum the other day, and he was talking about classes in Pearson, and it was making him get very nervous because I guess it was a tough situation for him. I am Kate Atkinson Kaplan, and I am the president of the Tufts University Alumni Association, and my degree is from the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences in 1995. And I would love to welcome you to this year's Lead It, which is the Tufts Alumni Volunteer Leadership Summit. On behalf of all the members of the Summit Planning Committee, we want to welcome you, and it's very exciting. I've met people who've come from a very long way, and at lunchtime I will let you know all the different places that people have come from. So at lunchtime we'll all be in the same place. Right now we're split into two groups. The other half is that away. And in that room, David Myers, who's the president-elect of the Alumni Association, is in there with, I think, Jen Covell, and there's another comparable session. So the first Lead It Summit was 2 years ago, and during that time we heard from attendees that they really, really enjoyed coming together with a group of like-minded alumni. And what's wonderful about this event is that we have people from all sorts of different types of volunteer experiences. We have people who are members of the Career Advisory Network. We have people who are on the Alumni Council, all sorts of different types of volunteer capacities. We'll be meeting with some of the trustees this afternoon and members of boards of advisors as well. And we gather together so that we can all learn how to be better ambassadors for the university, and that is the main point of this. So we're going to be very, very, very busy for the next day and a half. You're going to have an opportunity to listen, to learn, to ask questions, to see different parts of the campus, and to talk with other alumni leaders. We have skills session like this, volunteer and professional skills sessions, and then we also have a number of sessions where some of our star faculty are presenting to us, and then of course this afternoon we have a panel of the administration. So throughout the summit today and tomorrow you're going to hear from the brilliant minds of Tufts, and you guys are included in that. The faculty, fellow alumni, our administrators, and our active civically engaged students. We'll also have a chance to meet with students. And you're going to get a chance to talk to the trustees and advisors. This afternoon we'll be in small breakout sessions. And we have lunch together this noon, and tonight we have a wonderful keynote with Dean Alan Solomon, who's going to be presenting the work of Sherwood, which is one of a great example of our active citizenship. So all of this is to prepare you to have your own answers to the question, what do you say when you talk to your friends and colleagues about Tufts? And after the summit's over, you're going to have a lot to say. I'm sure you already have a lot to say, but we'll give you some more things to say. And it's dedicated alumni and volunteer like you who play very, very important role in shaping the university's image and reputation. So we're going to get started with our first session in the category of professional development, and here to introduce our speaker is a very active member of the Alumni Council and a highly respected member of the legal profession who lives in Los Angeles. He served as president of the Tufts University Alumni Association from 2012 to 2014, and he will complete a full tenure term on the council's executive committee in June of 2006. Please welcome Brian McCarthy, class of 1975.
The illustrious class of 1975. I mentioned to somebody last night, there's nothing as former as a former president of an alumni association. So thanks, Kate, and it's a privilege for me to introduce our first and very interesting speaker this morning. She's been around the institution for quite some time, so has, I'm sure, some great stories to tell, but we're not going to get into those today unless you want to divert a little bit. But her mission is really to impart on us the mystery and the mechanics of great storytelling. Gail Bambrick, AG 79 and AG 90, has worked in the communications and marketing field for over 30 years as a writer, strategist, and teacher. Like many members of her profession, she cut her teeth as a journalist and as an editor at weeklies in Boston's Metro West communities. During her many years of services at Tufts, she was highly focused on developing and enhancing the university's reputation, its visual identity, and messaging, both in print and later in her career online. She served in a range of positions, including senior marketing communications writer, director of publications, and associate director of communications and public relations for the university, and news media and public relations manager for the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy. Since 2000, she has taught public relations and marketing for the Communications and Media Studies Department. She holds a Ph.D. And master's from Tufts in American Literature. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Gail Bambrick.
So rather than read you the first 30 to 40 pages of my dissertation, which is scintillating, and yet I decided to do something a little different. And you'll see why, in fact, that if I had sat here and read you the first 30 pages of my dissertation, it would have been so deadly and so dreadful, because it wouldn't be a story. And it would also perhaps be the way people go to your website, people go to see about your organization, if people are trying to read a story. If you're telling them we are 30 people who are dedicated to, with a budget of, everyone goes to sleep, right? It's not a story. So what I want to do this morning is, we don't have a lot of time. I could do a whole semester on what about stories, right? But I know part of the interest here is, and in fact I do have many stories about Tufts. I know where everybody is buried, so see me after, because, man, can I tell you stuff. I started out with Jean Mayer. Jean Mayer people here? Haha, see, there we go, and moved on through. So there are interesting stories to tell, but what I want to do first is talk about why are stories effective? What makes them, why do we respond to them? And then we'll talk a little bit about how we do them. Never been a human culture in all of history without stories or myths, right? Never, never, never. From the cave drawings to, well, we'll keep walking through here. Whoops, hit the wrong button. We tell ourselves stories to tell ourselves how to live. We always have. Why is there lightning? Why did the snow fall? What caused a flood? How should we treat each other? We did it in a number of ways, and it goes all the way back to drawing pictures of the hunt. Perfectly informational, passed down from generation to generation. This is how you do it to survive. Ancient Egypt, we know, just one example, of course. It crosses all cultures. We decided that we wanted to preserve our stories, preserve the stories of leadership, of morality, of all manner of things. And of course, before that, it was all an oral tradition, which continues today, actually, which we'll talk about a little bit. Going on the internet, going on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram has returned us in part from a written culture to an oral culture. What do you do on Twitter? We tell each other stories. My dog just said the cutest thing, right? On Facebook, you know, we share personal tragedies, personal triumphs, and jokes, funny things. But forever and ever, it was the way we learned how to live, and also too a lot about ourselves. Then, of course, again, across cultures, just one sample, in an effort to preserve the stories, because they were so important to us, right? They were who we are. Scribes all over the place are taking ages and ages, but they're preserving the written word, right? They're preserving our history. They're preserving our beliefs. And then, of course, more people needed the stories. We wanted more people to have these stories, so we invent a printing press. And then we invent really fast printing presses. And then technology kicks in, right? Suddenly, we can transmit via radio the same oral stories. There are, and we'll see here, it's around a television, but you've all seen the famous fireside chat picture of the family sitting around the radio looking, became our campfire, right? Suddenly, our campfire was a technological one, and we watched, and we watched. And what were we told? Stories, right? They're all stories. When we turn on the news, it's a story. What are our favorite stories on the news? The personal interest ones, right? Because people want to hear about people. Not so much about, yeah, you want to know what the Dow Jones did. Have you ever watched that PBS Dow Jones thing? This very nice gentleman just sits there and reads, and today, pork bellies went da-da-da-da-da. It's very mesmerizing if you want to do like a meditation or something. But in fact, most of it just washes through us, because one of the things that stories do is help us remember, right? We remember stories. In fact, many people, have you all been watching The Brain on PBS? It's a great series. Okay, it's really kind of fun. A little bit elementary if you're a brain person, but if you're not, one of the things that becomes clear is that the way we create memory, the way we literally create our identity, is through stories we're told about ourselves. Did you see that one? It's pretty good, huh? Yeah, I mean, it was like, Great Aunt Sally tells you, when you were 5, I remember, that you jumped into the pool and saved your sister. And you're like, well, I don't remember that. But you hear it often enough, and the other family members repeat it, and you're like, I jumped into the pool when I was 5, and it becomes real. In fact, every moment from right now, we're already in the past. What I just said, it's already in the past. Later on, you can tell a story about it. It may be correct, it may be slightly incorrect, but that's how we will interpret reality. That's what history is, right? What is history but stories that we sometimes find out weren't so true, but we recreate them and recreate them. So walking through that little technology thing, we're all sitting around the TV campfire, but now we're here. Now we're here. It is massive. What I want to impress upon people is we're in an environment where we are bombarded by stories, and we're alone. We're alone. We think we're connected. We have friends, we have stories, they're coming, Twitter, pictures pop up, whatever. But there's no one sitting next to me going, oh yeah, I like that too. There is no human reinforcement. It's all coming through the screen. And it is very, as you know, check your own email. Have you tried scrolling through your Twitter account recently? How many of you are on Twitter? All right, pretty good. Facebook? Yeah, okay. So you get it. So that what we are is we're in a glutted environment. So one of the things about stories you tell, whether it's for an organization or a corporation, or even just for yourself, one of the things it's got to do is break through. It's got to break through the noise. It's got to be interesting. Just a few thoughts from people much wiser and much more talented than I. Writers on writing. Without stories, we would go mad. Imagine. Without stories, life would lose its moorings, its orientation. Even in silence, we're living in stories, right? Which is true. Our brains are just constantly, that's what meditation's all about, right? Pretend the thought is a cloud, and then let it pass away. Oh, sure. Do you ever try to get your brain to stop telling you things, to stop? It's amazing. It can't, because this is part of our hard wiring. Stories, most important thing in the world. Without them, we wouldn't even be human beings. Here we are in this room. I'm telling you some stories. It connects us. It gives us a bond. And this is what I love about it. I actually kind of stole this quote, but I can't remember who I stole it from, so it's not entirely mine. But it is true. Even in our sleep, our brain stays awake all night telling us stories. We dream. We dream. Even then, whatever you may think dreams mean, whether they're symbolic, whether they're psychically telling us something that will happen in the future, whether you think it's just working out the day's problems, it never stops. It's an absolute, It's absolutely basic to who we are and what we are as human beings. So the question then becomes, so we're telling ourselves these stories and all that. What do stories do? They define our beliefs. And if you think about like the best novel you've ever read or the best short story, right? It's changing. It's life-changing. Yeah, I studied English, I know. I'm a little biased. But the truth is, it's a story that we see on television, that we're told via radio, that we read, that defines, makes us decide what we believe. They frame our world, literally tell us how things work. They're informative. How do I act? What should happen? And as I mentioned before, they tell us who we are. When you are writing stories, when you're trying to create stories, or tell people tough stories, remember that behind it, people are expecting to learn something about what they believe, about their world, and about themselves, right? The famous marketing phrase, what's in it for me? Every single marketing campaign that has ever succeeded has remembered to answer the question, what's in it for me? So in a story, it's not you projecting, like me reading the first 30 pages of my dissertation, right? It is engagement. It is telling your story, not my story, every time, okay? So you want to be your audience is very important. Just some of the big things, I mean, Noah's Ark, right? These are what I put up here are sometimes called grand narratives, okay? There are little narratives, things we learn about each other and little stories. And then there are grand narratives, which have literally shaped cultures, okay? Like, take Noah's Ark, for example, right? Noah's Ark is the story of, what would you say? What did the rainbow mean? A covenant and redemption, right? Redemption. You can fall all the way down here. There is redemption. It's a story that has lasted eons, right? It just goes on. Down below, the poor guy with the rock, who's he? Yes, how come we all know that so well? Is that like really, really, that's like so appropriate to life, isn't it? The myth of Sisyphus. It's been recreated in great art, in stories. In modern stories, the theme of it has been picked up. And the story, of course, is you roll a rock to the top, gosh darn it, just roll it back down again. And for some cultures, part of that story is that the most important part of the myth is that you have to walk back down. And during that walk down the hill, you learn something, okay? But again, timeless story. This is a little hard to read, but from the Tao Te Ching, some 5,000 years old, lasted a long time, which through short vignettes, which are like poetry or stories, tell people how to be. At birth, all people are soft and yielding. At death, they are hard and stiff. I read the whole thing. When soft and yielding, we are followers of life. I read the Tao Te Ching. It's actually quite good. You'd be amazed. Little bits of wisdom that mean different things to you at different parts of your life. But again, stories that have lasted thousands of years. Okay, so when marketers are thinking about this, marketers have gotten very savvy. People who are zooming these stories at you through the internet, they know that there are certain universals that people respond to, right? They respond to light overcoming darkness, right? A rags to riches story, let's say. They respond to good overcoming evil, or they enjoy watching the battle. I know this sounds really lofty and hand-wavy, but guess what? Some of those things are embedded in tough stories. And the way you tell them and the story you choose to tell can get them across. Transformation, right? Both magical, the pauper into the prince, the frog into the prince with a kiss. We all want to be able to change and transform. We all want to believe that love conquers all, that purity of heart matters. We all want to belong to something. And we all believe that we can turn our failure into triumph. If you can get those themes to resonate, whatever you're doing, whether you're telling a simple story in a local newspaper, for example, if those themes are behind it, they will resonate across all cultures. Across all cultures. So, Gustav Klimt, art is a line around your thoughts. That's what stories are, really, right? They're defining different things. So what you want to do, whether you're talking about Tufts, or you're talking about your company, or you're trying to get something across in a newspaper story or in a feature article, you want to think about what's the hidden message, right? Not the overt one. The story itself is one thing. It has a plot and it's going on. But what's behind it? Are any of those big themes behind it? Also, too, we want stories to fill our emotional needs, right? We're sad, we want to feel better, or we want to feel that someone else feels what we feel, right? Understanding the emotional needs of who you're talking to can help you frame what you're saying. In other words, what we're trying to do is stories are meant, when they're used to persuade or to market or to, they are meant to fill a gap in the brain, in the thoughts, in the hearts of your audiences. And then, of course, if there's a big mythology behind it, really cool. You don't have to say, going to Tufts was like the myth of Sisyphus. It wasn't until I got the hell out of here that I realized I'd walk down the hill. You know, I wasn't going to push that up anymore. If I had to, I could. Okay, so it isn't quite that overt, but you know what I'm getting at, right? So what happens then in real advertising? Okay, I want to show you an example of a company that did just what I'm talking about. They went pretty, whoops, sorry about that, pretty darn literal, and made this advertisement. Geez, here's the ad. Sorry about that.
In dieser schwierigen Stunde müssen wir zusammenhalten.
Stop that. Oh, we had enough of that. So, let me get out of this for a minute. Such a tiny screen up here. So, what just happened there, guys? Sorry, everybody. We'll get right to it. Okay. This is an ad for what? Perrier. What's Perrier? Water. They're advertising water, right? Oh my gosh. What happens to the water during the ad? By the way, did you like the ad? Or is it just me, the weird sci-fi freak, that really, yeah? So it's pretty cool, right? Let's talk about a couple of aspects of it. First of all, what happens to the water? Say again. She drinks it, but what does it become? What is Perrier capable of? It saved the world, right? Perrier can save the world from an exploding sun. Does it get much bigger than this? Does it get much bigger than this? Water, which is just water, becomes a potion, right? A magical, powerful potion. All through what? A story. And the story works because we've all seen the kind, right? It picks up on all the tropes, on all the expectations that are built into our head, our film literacy, right? We watch the scenes of people upset, of people fainting, so it tells a story because in the beginning, what? Do we know what's going on? We don't know where it's going. But you want to, don't you? Right? One of the tricks of storytelling. Make me want to know. Where's it going to go? Walk me through it, right? And at the end, give me a reward, right? The best stories give you something. They don't just tell you something, they leave you with something. There's a whole bunch more to this, but since we have a short time this morning, we won't go any longer. But watch it again as we keep, in your spare time, which I'm sure none of you have, and keep thinking about it. I just wanted to point out, too, that strangely, there's a new video game out. Came out in 2013. It's called Never Alone. I'm going to show you just a really quick clip of the trailer. For 2.5 years, the game builders sat with Native American Alaskans in the North and learned their mythology and learned their history and decided that what they wanted to do was transmit the mythology, the history, the belief system through a video game, which takes a young girl out to figure out what is causing the blizzards that are destroying her village. And it brings up both magical things, but also things like heroism, determination, and the ability to depend on one another, to help one another, which are all the basis of, so just to say, this didn't all just happen a million years ago when we did. Here's a mythology, and we'll just watch a little tiny bit of it here, just to give you a sense. This is just the trailer. So you get the sense, right? The point of showing you this is, much like showing you the Perrier ad, that at the beginning we looked at how technology has changed how we absorb stories, but it also has changed how we tell stories, right? A video game, right, may be one of the most potent ways to pass on ideology and beliefs if you can hit it right. And here's an ideology and beliefs that were destined probably to be forgotten, but now will go on to another generation. Oop. Here it comes. Thank you. Okay, so Seth Godin, fellow alum, right? Have you read any of his books? Purple Cat. Very interesting. Sorry, Seth, but sometimes a little repetitive in what he's saying, but some really interesting points he makes, and one of them is, it used to be that it's no longer about the stuff we make. It used to be what kind of product, what kind of student, whatever. It's all about the stories that we tell about what we're doing. I've got to show you, this is an award-winning commercial from Thailand. Let's watch this and talk a little bit about
จะได้อะไรถ้าเขาทำแบบนี้ทุกวันเขาจะไม่ได้อะไรเลย ไม่ได้รวยขึ้น ไม่ได้ออกทีวี ไม่มีใครรู้จัก ไม่ได้มีชื่อเสียงที่มากขึ้น เพราะสิ่งที่เขาได้คือได้แค่ความรู้สึกได้เห็นความสุขได้เข้าใจได้ความรักได้ในสิ่งที่เงินซื้อไม่ได้ได้โลกที่สวยงามกว่าเดิมในชีวิตคุณอะไรคือสิ่งที่คุณต้องการมากที่สุด
ไทยประกันชีวิตเชื่อในความดี
How about that? Insurance. Okay, so I want to believe in good. Not a bad tagline, huh? Not a bad tag. But I saw you guys. I saw you when that little girl's gone. I saw all of you tense. And then how many people smiled when she comes down? Oh, yeah, I did. This thing still, I've watched this, I can't tell you how many times, and I'm like, every time I'm like, don't cry in front of people, don't, because it is a very moving story, right? Very moving for a whole bunch of reasons. It connects us. But remember, it's advertising insurance. I want to talk about a little while ago, what's the hidden meaning? What's the essence of insurance? Life, right? Life insurance is about life, right? So they don't, like many insurance companies, oh, whoops. Don't I get an extra couple of minutes because we started late? Yes, we do. She wants me to start the Q&A, but I'm going to run through a few things really quickly. But notice the components of the story. It tugged at us emotionally. And it had a message for us. The reward at the end was feeling good, seeing beauty in life. So the essence of life insurance isn't how cheap it is, or how it will protect you, or accidents happen, or the little kid going, Daddy, what'll happen when I die? You know, oh, God, terrible things. This one leaves you feeling fulfilled because it teaches you a life lesson. So the essence is life. Think about what the essence of Tufts is. It isn't a particular class. It isn't something else. Often these days the word transformational is used at Tufts. Maybe behind all the stories you tell about Tufts, that could be, whoops, let me get us back here. I'll go through this really quickly. Don't worry, we'll get there. It's okay. No, I appreciate it because I didn't wear my watch, so. Are you guys bored yet? You still with me? Okay, it's not too much longer. And then we'll open it up to some questions. So I just want to say, really, really simple. Anybody that took their English course or basic freshman writing, it's really, really simple. It's how it's done. But this, a story has got to grab our attention, right? It has got to make us want to know what happens next. Right? Every book you read. Anybody read Louise Penny, the mystery writer? Mm-hmm. Isn't she great? Yes. Oh, God, she's fantastic. Read Louise Penny's Inspector Gamache Mysteries. You'll see, but you'll see this in any of the books you love, right? Even nonfiction books. Grab my attention. Make me want to know what happens next. Most important, connect to my emotions, right? Make me feel. Because intellectually, it's very fine to appeal to people with intellectual arguments. I went to Tufts. I know the importance of analytical thinking and having your evidence and knowing how to do it. But the truth is, people react with emotions way before they let their intellect kick in. And then, as I said, leave us with a reward, right? Don't tell me a story and have me go, meh, you know. I need something back. I spent some time reading your story, hearing your story, watching your story. I want something back. What is my reward? My reward, say, with the insurance thing is, I feel great, right? My reward with the Perrier ad is, I feel relieved. There's magic in the world. But it's got to be there. It's got to be there. Just really quickly, okay, we're gonna go a little quicker now so we can actually let you talk. You don't want to talk. It's Saturday morning, right? We could be out in the woods walking. No, okay. Okay. The way you grab people's attention, especially in a busy marketplace, and I'm just going to go through a few examples of some of who I think are our greatest writers, and they're asking you to commit to a novel. You ever feel that way sometimes? It's like, damn, that novel's heavy. God, it's thick. What is going to make me stay when I open that first page? And the same technique happens in advertising, it happens in newspaper leads, and it can happen in conversations. Remember the infamous, everybody said, have an elevator speech, right? Like if you're going from the first to the sixth floor and you've got, you know, a client or a potential donor or someone you want to connect with, and you've only got that much time to tell them. It used to be you blithered out, you know, we're an organization of 30, we're way underfunded, we're trying to do this, we're building a new building. You need a one-liner. What is the essence of what you're talking about? What's the mythology? What's the grand theme? Can you appeal to their emotion in one ride up the elevator? I bet for every single organization anywhere, you can. I bet you can find. So Toni Morrison's, I love Toni Morrison. She was one of my dissertation people. Another one will be too. But so they shoot the white girl first. Are you going to stop? I'm not. I'm like, who did? Why? Why the white girl? Alice Walker. You all seen The Color Purple, right? At least the movie, if not read the novel. You better not never tell nobody but God. You going to stop? Doubt it. There are lines like this in your lives. There are lines like this in your organizations. And Sylvia, a little longer, but look, it was a queer, sultry summer, the summer they electrocuted the Rosenbergs, and I didn't know what I was doing in New York. A little different, a little longer, but in just, that is one sentence, ladies and gentlemen. We have a scene, we have a character, we have again, grabbing our attention, make me want to know what happens next. Do you all like Flannery O'Connor? If you read, if you do, yay, I love her. If you don't, if you read no other one, A Good Man is Hard to Find is just a short story. And it's about, it begins, the grandmother didn't want to go to Florida. Oh, what happens after that is pretty macabre and grotesque, right? You don't know that from this, but you want to find out. Okay. And then this is a very, very typical, but everybody can do this. It was a wrong number that started it. The telephone ringing 3 times in the dead of night, and the voice on the other end asking for someone he was not. We all know that, right? It's like the trope in every great horror movie. Who is this? What are you? I can see you, you know. But again, beginning to build plot. Now I'm going to show, I think I have time. This is only a 1-minute ad. Let's look at another way that advertising can grab our attention but also connect to our emotions. If I can find the darn cursor. You may have all seen this. Up. Where is the darn? Ah, there it is. Thank you. All right.
Well, you only need the light when it's burning low. Only miss the sun when it starts to snow. Only know you love her when you let her go. Only know you've been high when you're feeling low. Only hate the road when you're missing home. Only know you love her when you let her go. And you let her go.
So, the puppy ad, puppies and kittens. I mean, we have an elephant. We could do something with that elephant, right? Elephants are getting more and more like tray hip. But, and I love elephants, but this one, at the end, are you cheering or what? I am like, yes, yes, because, and what's it an ad for? Beer. They got a beer here, right? It's just beer. There's a million kinds of beers. But Budweiser has a great, it's a great campaign and it stretches over many, many ads. I just happened to choose this one. So why would Budweiser show us an ad that has no beer in it? Yeah, it has the Clydesdale. But what is it doing? Do you want to have a Bud right now? And if you do, how come? Right? How come? Because Budweiser now is associated with these values of love, of friends pulling together to get the girl back, of all these kinds of very, very basic and powerful emotions are now associated with beer. It's Bud, for heaven's sake. It's not even the best beer, really. Come on. But it's the best beer at letting us think. It's like with when you do the drop of Perrier and the sun suddenly is quelled, right? If you now drink a Budweiser, it has the power of these emotions. It has the power of this story, right? It becomes like a potion. I just wanted to show quickly, too, that you can indeed tell stories in single images. This is one, right? Because every label, this is real wine, by the way. You can actually buy it on the internet. It's really kind of funny. But it tells its story really quickly in a snap. And that's one thing that our very image-driven society has taught us to do. We tell our own story. It's kind of cool, right? We have a trigger. Murder on my mind. That's mine. That's sometimes. And then, again, Google, how to dodge a snake bite, right? You've told your own story, right? They didn't need to build it up or show the guy walking through the forest or anything. We got it. We got the moment of the story, right? Because at the core of every story is a moment. It's for Listerine. Listermint, actually. Right? So again, tells us the whole story. And then there's this one. Notice the product. Can you read it? Jumbo peanuts. How big are those peanuts? Okay, right? So again, we get the story. It turns our heads around a little bit. But again, I just want to be clear that images can be. Oh, I did have one. I'm going to skip this one. Go. Oh, no, never mind. Okay. I'm sorry, it's too popular. Here we go. This is a really short one. This is an ad campaign for Axe.
New Axe Apollo. Join now at axeapollo.com for your chance to go to space.
Let me just go back here 1 second. Whoa. Okay. All right. So just quickly, obviously, right? They lead us with a well-known story, right? The hero comes forth, and then he saves the girl. And then, of course, there's a whole series of those for Axe. Do y'all know what Axe is? It's like a body spray and deodorant for teenage boys. Hello, if any of you are wearing it, sorry. No. But I mean, that is their target audience. That truly is their target audience. Again, we know, that there are certain stories we all know. You know, guy saves girl falls in love with guy. There's one with firefighters and all this. Using the known tropes, the known stories, the stories that we all have in our heads to your advantage can be a good thing. We respond to those stories for a reason. They've lasted as long as they have for a reason. So, just to sum up, and again, we could go on for a lot. We could dive into any of these topics, but not this morning, and I'm going to let you guys ask some questions. But the basics. If you tell a story, be remarkable. As people have said, remarkable just doesn't mean, oh, wow. It means something to be remarked on. Be something to be remarked on. It makes you stand out. Don't tell your story. Don't tell me how Tufts is like. Tufts has the best faculty in the world. So what? What's in it for me? You don't tell your story, you tell your audience's story. You tell me my story. You get inside my head and you tell me what matters. Stories have to matter. So again, fill a need in your audience's mind. What do people need? And look at the culture around you. Are people feeling insecure? Maybe insecure financially? Are they worried about the next presidential election? Are they worried about the fires that are burning Indonesia right now? What is concerning to your audience, and how can your story acknowledge that you're aware of it and maybe even can help solve it, if not just commiserate? Again, reward your audience with meaning or humor, as the Axe so well shows, right? We love to laugh. Don't overlook humor, ever. It is the greatest reward that you can give someone you've told a story. Keep in mind that there are themes from the grand narratives. I only touched on a few. But any of the huge biblical themes, the themes from Buddha, themes from the Quran, think of the big grand narratives and Greek mythology, all mythology, that have lasted throughout eternity in terms of humanity. And again, find your brand essence, okay? Look behind what you are to what you represent. Okay, what's the core? And done deal. That's all I got to say for this morning. Oh, you're welcome. No problem. Hey, wait a minute. Okay, you're right. Okay. So we have time for 2 questions. Who's the most astute person in the room? Huh? And also, you can certainly talk to me afterwards, too. So, does anyone have a question or a comment? Here. What's that? Here, you need a mic because they're recording this. Because I'm Oprah. It's okay.
My question is, does music relate to storytelling?
Absolutely. Wouldn't you all agree? It's a very good question. Because, especially in modern storytelling, it's an appeal to the emotions. If you think back to the Thai insurance ad, remember how the music changed as they wanted your emotions to change. In the most recent Axe ad, right, the music was heroic. Go back and look at them. There's this sort of like, timpani, drum, trumpet kind of sound to it. We respond, absolutely, we respond with all our 5 senses to stories, especially video stories. What was the other ad I showed? Oh, the puppy ad. The music is key. If I were to play you that ad without, if you love her, then you let her go, never let, that song is like, that's what leads me through it. Because the puppy and the horse, yeah, it's the song. So absolutely, very good question, very good. Do you have another?
This is not to get political, but can storytelling backfire? And we're seeing it right now actually with Ben Carson, right? He wrote the book. And
Well, I have no idea what you mean. Backfire, yes. That's one thing that I didn't put in this presentation, but clear. One of the most important things about stories, they have to be authentic. All right, authenticity adds to believability. And again, in PR, never lie. You will get caught, right? Never. So, yeah, Ben Carson, for example, there was no need for him to magnify what was already a good story. He should have stuck with his own story, his real story. Same thing with anything we do. If it's authentic, it will ring truer. That doesn't mean you can't add, obviously Perrier is kind of lying, kind of. But it's clear, like when we're kids, we know the difference between like the Three Stooges not dying when they back each other over the head, right? And cartoons where the Roadrunner gets squished. We know the difference between fantasy and reality, and it was clear in Perrier they were leading us into a fantasy. And we said okay. We said okay. But political campaigns, and public relations you can augment the story, but you have to be honest about your augmentation, right? Are you leading me into a fairy tale or a myth? Are you exaggerating a little on purpose so that I'll like it? But absolutely true. Ben Carson's in deep trouble.
yeah, I'm not saying he was lying or anything like that, but it's like you have to nail it for some sort of presentation, and it just seems like it's very challenging to.
Absolutely. Yeah, the bottom line of any marketing, of any storytelling is stick with the truth. There's plenty in the truth. Plenty there. I can promise you.
So with that, why don't we join in thanking Gail for the
Thank you, guys.
And on behalf of the Alumni Association and the summit today, we'd like you to accept this small token of our appreciation.
Is this the first 30 pages of my dissertation? I told you at the beginning I
It's
needed
even
that.
better. It's the 30 pages of your next dissertation.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thank you, everybody. This was great fun.